what it'll be now is the microphones are on the table, those two small ones.
All right, we should be good to go.
You just have to project.
Okay, we basically have two agenda items tonight. The first is to review the bid results for the capital outlay project, and the second is to look at the draft items for the communications related to the capital project. So I think maybe we could start with the bid results for the capital outlay project. Rick, I sent you the bid tab results. I don't know if you can share, not that one, yeah, that one. Then Scott, if you want to take it away.
Sure. Do you have the bid results in front of you, or do you want me to share my screen?
Rick is sharing them on his.
Okay. All right.
Can you make it a little bigger maybe?
There we go. Okay.
Just the plus at the bottom, I think will do it.
There we go. So,
Welcome to Walton Central School District YouTube Live. I'm Ron Golly. We are so glad to have you with us this afternoon. And
I actually feel bad for Rick.
Oh my gosh. All right, go ahead, Scott. Sorry about that. Sooner or later this will work.
Like bloopers.
I'm really glad you're here. That's all I can say.
If Ron Gall's gonna introduce this project, I'm more than happy.
Exactly.
Okay.
I thought we were going to be going right out to the field there. It looked pretty good. So we had two bidders on the project, which we opened on Tuesday. Upstate companies out of Mount Upton, and then mid-state companies out of Schenectady. As you can see by the bid tab, the bids were higher than anticipated. The base bid for Upstate, which was really just the work in the music suite, came in at $87,000. They were the low bidder. The alternate to do all the work at the special ed room came in at $45,000. So if you include just those two together, base bid, you know, you're well over the 100,000 ceiling. We also had some other alternates, which were to provide the better flooring in room 151, and that came in at 6,200. And alternate number 3 was to provide the better flooring in the music suite, and that came in at 9,800. Now, we did talk to, or actually Kyle talked with Upstate. Kyle, do you want to maybe just go through what the conversation was with them?
Yeah, so I gave them a call shortly after we opened bids just to get some information back from them, really why the numbers were higher than we expected. One of them is the asbestos abatement costs all around are higher right now than we expected. They got 5 bids from subcontractors, all were very similar in that aspect for the asbestos. The second one is everybody's adding costs right now for COVID, and they didn't share how much that was, and I'm not sure how much that increased the cost of the project. And the last one is timing. Upstate even said that they probably wouldn't have bid the project if they weren't in the area already working on a project. Right now, contractors are closing out projects at schools and focusing on closeouts and not focusing on bidding for breaks, which is a little surprising. I thought they'd want to fill their schedule going forward, but right now everybody's just pushing to get work done. So those are the 3 takeaways I got back from Upstate.
And I think, you know, we talked a little bit about this at our last call. We said, you know, we're not sure what kind of bid numbers we're going to see by bidding it right now, but we decided, you know, let's take a shot at it and see what happens. We did try to, you know, push the schedule out so that they could do work in the fall. And we thought by doing that, you know, that might be more attractive because they could pick up some more work after the big summer, you know, rush is over. At this point, based on where the numbers fall, we have, you know, a couple of things that we put up there as possible options to consider. Now, remember, before we talk about that, you know, there's the cost of upstate, but then there was also the cost of, you know, other project related costs that we would have to consider and decide how best to handle those, such as, you know, our fees to do the design work, you know, the testing fees that were undertaken by BOCES, and also the design work that was done by ATL for the asbestos design. So we would have to factor those in as well. But, you know, option one we had in there was we could accept the low bid for the music room. We think we can squeeze in the other cost that we that I just talked about and fit that in under the 100,000. Option two would be, you know, accepting the low bid plus alternate three, which is the better flooring, but that pushes us right up to the 100K window. We'd have to discuss what to do about those incidental costs. And then option three really would be to reject these bids and to try to rebid the project a little bit later in the fall after the summer construction season has wound down, and maybe we would get a little more interest. Maybe we wouldn't. Maybe we would get the same contractors. It's always a gamble on a rebid, what you're going to see. So that's kind of in a nutshell where we're at. And I think as Kyle indicated, you know, those three reasons, I think the COVID protections that they have to do, mask, hand wash stations, worrying about the project possibly being delayed for various reasons, probably added some costs there. You know, we don't know how much they had put in there, obviously, as Kyle said. And then I really think probably the biggest factor is probably the timing as well, because all contractors are really rushing right now to try to finish up summer construction and trying to get ready for school to open. So not sure how you know how well they sharpen their pencils and really looked at this bid. You know, we believe that I think, Kyle, if I'm not mistaken, when we looked at the overall cost, I think you said it was around $24 a square foot, and you know, we had estimated it to be between 13 and 15. So it's quite a bit higher than what we would expect for this type of work in a normal scenario. It's the other thing I think I mentioned this at our last facilities meeting. These 100K projects, we've been finding them very difficult to get bids to come in where we want them. I think this, you know, even though $100,000 is a lot of money for these contractors, you know, they're used to working on projects that are quite a bit larger. So I think that, you know, I just don't think, I think these projects bear an unproportionate share of their overhead and profit margin relative to the actual amount of work that's in the project. So with that, I'll open it up to questions, and we can talk about where we want to go from here.
I have a question. Is there a certain criteria that needs to be met, or is there a reason why we didn't maybe try a local contractor in our area?
Well, so there are
Put it out there, and then it's up to the contractor, but okay.
right. Yes, this was put out. This was public bid, so this was advertised. This was out there. So it was really, but the contractors do have to meet certain requirements as far as being able to pay prevailing wage, which is a requirement of these types of jobs. But it was out there for anybody to look at.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Where did we advertise?
So it went to all of the, well, it was advertised in your local paper, but it was also out at all the plan rooms across the region. So all the typical builders exchanges that advertise this type of work for contractors. And we also, you know, the two contractors that bid, those were contractors that we called. as well. So I believe we got, Kyle, I believe we got some other calls from some other contractors that ultimately decided not to bid as well.
Yeah, I think they were, looking back, I think they were subcontractors. They were
Oh, they were?
asbestos removal contractors. So there was a lot of interest in this, the asbestos removal portion, my understanding, but I guess not so much on the GC side to manage it.
Yeah, we just did a recent, we had a recent project a year ago now, well, almost a year ago now with Morris. Same thing. It was a lot of flooring removal. And we got one bid. So it doesn't seem like it gets a lot of interest. I don't know. We call contractors and they, they have to make the decision.
When was that one that you just got one bid?
That was Morris Central Schools.
When was it? How long ago was it?
So that was last summer. when
So
we
it's
did that.
possible that we might experience, I'm just thinking the lack of response on that one wasn't COVID related or necessarily timing related.
No,
So even if we wait, we may not get an increased response.
that's true. We may not. I think a lot of these, I know the SCD has been talking for, at least for almost probably a year now about raising the cap on these $100,000 projects up to $250,000. They haven't enacted that yet, but there's been discussion about it. And I think part of the reason they're doing that is because I don't think this situation is unusual that we're facing.
Yeah, you don't get a lot of work done for $100,000. I know a couple of years ago, Bill Bartlett did a couple rooms up in Delhi, and that's
Yep.
exactly what he did, 2 classrooms, expected to get 4 or 5 out of it.
Yep.
It's just Now, what was the bid for just the asbestos removal, or didn't they break that down?
They did not break that down. I mean, if we decided, we have not seen their schedule of values, and typically they don't, we wouldn't get that unless we're ready to proceed with them. They don't like to show all their cards.
Yeah, Upstate said that was obviously a majority of the cost. They
Right.
did share that to me. I mean, just thinking, Scott, I mean, we could do multi-prime and go out, and split it up and maybe get a little better numbers because you'll have competing, asbestos contractors, but you probably won't get anybody to install the flooring then for that little bit of cost.
Right. Well, the other issue is that, you're potentially more overhead and profit too, that you might pay with multiple primes, but.
So now, I think we asked you before, we cannot buy, the school district cannot purchase and install the flooring ourselves and still be within the rules of where we get the reimbursement. It would go as
That would go as a maintenance cost, so you would not get aid on that.
There are floorings that you can buy through state contract, but I don't think it's going to get us to where we need to be.
right.
So in your professional opinions, are we rebidding this or not?
I think that, we could certainly do the very base bid, which is to do the music rooms. Because you've got the bird in the hand, you know what that cost is. If you go back out, I do not believe and Kyle, chime in, I don't think we're going to see a significant difference in cost or in interest. Maybe we would pick up one other contractor, but I think it's a roll of the dice, whether that would be true or not.
When we did our walkthrough, I mean, we all, I believe, agreed that music rooms are basically in horrific shape as far as flooring, things like that. And asbestos in the school has got to go, as far as I'm concerned. So if we do not believe that we're going to get any more competitive bidding by releasing this in the fall, I don't see why we wouldn't go forward with it.
So. Regis, is it-
What was our,
Just agree.
what was our cost, Scott, of the 87 plus the marmoleum flooring?
96.8. So that's the, if we're deciding that we want to go forward, the question is then, do they want to pay the extra roughly $10,000 for the upgraded flooring? What would happen is we can still claim the project up to $100,000, get $87,000 back. The additional cost above $100,000 will just be on our dime. Some of that is already on our dime anyway, because we did it in advance of this project being voted on, so that we can move the ball forward. I think John maybe could take a minute to explain what the advantages of the improved
The
upgraded flooring.
Marmoleum flooring is a no wax flooring. It's just use a white scrub pad on it and mop it, and that's it. Use like a super shine all on it. And the thing is when you have so much in the music room, you have to remove all the time, such as the risers. Like that, it's just such a pain to remove all those risers, to strip and wax the floor every single year. You'd have to tear those risers down, and that'd just be days worth of work.
So cost savings of maintenance alone is gonna outproduce that 96.
Absolutely, 96.5.
It won't take long, that's for sure. There's a whole crew that has to be moving that.
Yeah.
Right, we did it for years.
To do that project, it would, just to clear that room, would probably take 3 to 4 days of everyone on my summer crew work. 3 to 4 10-hour days.
I mean, I think if we're gonna move forward, it makes sense to take on that additional cost, even though it won't be eatable because of the savings that it's gonna achieve.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
And of course, 151A, that it's just in bad shape as the music room is, but we'll just have to wait and do that. Now, as far as the $250,000 capital outlay projects go, that probably would have passed state legislature this year had COVID-19 not come into the mix. And
From a budgeting standpoint though, Greg, I mean, this is a good step to get to the 250. I don't know as if
Right.
we
I don't
could,
think we
we could
should
lay
wait.
out to, I think we would build, if they did make that rule change and say you go to 250 and we already have 100 in place, it won't be a shell shock to get to the 250. If we went from 0 to 250, it would be
Absolutely, like,
incredibly difficult. So I think it's a good builder all the way around.
I don't disagree.
And it gets asbestos out of our building, it gets us, that music room just needs, we all agree that needs improvement, massive improvements. It's been overlooked for a while. So I'm in favor, if their professional opinions are moving forward, I definitely would be in favor of bringing that forward. What do you think, Kevin?
I don't disagree with that at all.
So that would be the option 2 with us paying the cost above 100,000.
And
Which-
like I said, some of that we've already paid.
Correct.
So actually, probably the bulk of that has already been paid for in last fiscal year. So the impact on this fiscal year of that is gonna be minimal.
so it wouldn't be the 10 grand, it would be,
I mean, in total, yes, but we've already accounted for it.
you already
right?
paid, okay.
Yeah,
So Scott, moving forward, the board has a special meeting on August 6th, and this would be brought forward to them for a recommended award at that time.
okay, so what we'll put together is a bid recommendation letter, which just outlines what we've talked about here. And, re-shows the entire budget. And we can get that to you so that you have that in time for the meeting.
Great, thank you. The other item we had on the agenda was to review some materials that have been put together for the large capital project. I had sent out earlier this week the frequently asked questions that Scott drafted for us. I don't know if you had a chance to review those or if anybody had comments. I think Tracy found a typo, can't remember what it was.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you want me to bring that up?
Yeah, if you have
No, which one was it?
the referendum one. Yeah. So the idea here was to just get some general information that we could put on the website. to get information out about the project and answer some anticipated questions.
I had a chance to review it and it looks very good. Can you please keep scrolling Rick, for a second? There was one, when we go out for the building project and it's voted on and we can't go over what the voters vote on, that amount of money, correct? Am I correct in saying that?
Right here.
Is it that one right there? School districts throughout New York are required by law not to exceed the amount approved
Yes.
by voters. Right, so if we took this out and the voters approved a $7.2 million project, and then let's say we were in the same situation as we just talked about, where the bids came back and they were higher, we would have to either remove things from, I mean, we still can't spend more than.
We can't, so it's just not an option at all.
That's correct.
Okay, well, I just wanna make sure because, you know, that could be a frequently asked question and misunderstood that. And how would we make sure that we're in that, you know what I mean? Because things, bids come back, X, Y, and Z, we get in a project and something fails
We
and,
would prioritize up to the 7.2 based
Okay.
on the scope of the project and the bids.
okay, as long as that's understood, I mean, I got that, you can't go over, it, but I also went into, well, what if we uncover something or the project people do, then we have to scope back on something. So we definitely cannot go, there'll be no extra cost. Okay, thank you.
Should
That's,
we
that's
add
one of the, that's one of the reasons why it really, it took us 3 years to get to this point. We made these gentlemen and their companies go through a lot of reiterations because we wanted to avoid any of those changes coming through. We wanted something as solid as we possibly could. Now COVID and all these other things that have popped up are obviously unforeseen, but we wanted to make the most solid design process we had possible so that we knew we didn't have changes at the end. Because we don't want to start deleting things. I've seen a few school different districts where they put out a massive bid and then made changes and had to remove components of what they bid out. We want to avoid that.
Well, right, basically
Very
what
costly.
I'm asking for is somebody like me, new to this and not in this field, to be able to understand that, and that may be what happens if you go over that, even though it clearly may stay in there, but what happens if the thing, so just having that we can't, that we'd have to, you know, make it work one way or another properly in safety and
Right.
and
So
ensuring our
that could be a
project was
potential
finished.
question to consider for this Q and A, is what I'm saying.
Or what if
Right.
we added a sentence to say, if results, if bid costs end up being higher than anticipated, the district will reevaluate the scope of the project as needed, or something to that effect, just another sentence at the end of that?
Yeah,
Scott, did
just
you catch
something,
that?
yeah, you know.
Yeah, yep.
I guess I can make that change too, but yeah, we could add that sentence.
But other than that, speaking from not understanding the whole project and going through those questions, I thought that they were great and they touched on points and we were able to peel them down enough that. And of course, if other people have questions, they can obviously contact, but I was clearly able to read it and understand it, other than that one part, like what if. But thank you for answering that.
The other thing that, I don't know that we want to put it in a question really, but just for your knowledge, I mean, the project budget that we have out there does have, some contingencies already built into that, because we do anticipate, there's never a project that is 100% perfect. And you're always, potentially going to run into something and you need to take care of that. So we actually plan for that up front.
And the recommended amount is what, 20% contingency by New York State recommendation?
Well,
Something of that nature at minimum?
It's 10%. We have a 10% construction contingency, and then there's another 20% in there for incidentals, which really part of that 20% is also more contingency.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other comments on that? Additions, changes?
Do we have a set date in November that we were looking at?
We talked about the 17th.
I think maybe that should be put in there instead of just voting in November, because people may think, well, maybe we're gonna vote on it when we vote for president. I mean, people don't understand exactly.
I think it is there in another section.
It is.
It's right there, the date
Yeah.
is in.
Yeah, it's right at the bottom there. That was there.
November 17th.
If you
But then it says we will hold a public meeting, put the dates, and then you can put a date, in preparation for the public referendum on November 17th.
I think I might add 2020, I just for paperwork reasons, I would add 2020.
Yes,
But other than that, honestly, I thought they were great and they were answered great and clear.
Do we have a video to look at?
Rick, do we have video to look at?
This. So this is a draft. We have more time to work on it. We don't anticipate this would go out until probably sometime second half of August. So at this point, again, it's for feedback and we can adjust as.
Rick and PJ have teamed up on this. Rick came in last weekend with his drone and he and PJ were working together. Couple key points from PJ, the voiceover, who the voice will be, we have to determine yet. There's a couple ideas out there. I'm gonna hold off saying it because that's been confirmed. I don't want the person to run away from us. It's a good voice. And then, and maybe if not, we'll call Ron Golly, like I started off the meeting.
That's what I was like, is
Right?
it Ron Valley? Because that's perfect.
Already heard from it today.
And the beginning here, at the beginning, there's a Warrior Head capital project, but it's still needing to be crafted. And then the ending is gonna be adjusted. So it's definitely rough draft. So all feedback is desired. We can tip it on its head. We could redo sections, orders, whatever we need to do. We've never done this before, so. Okay, go ahead, Rick.
The Walton Central School District is looking to build for its future and in the process, making its facilities safer for all. For the past 2 years, the district's facilities committee has been meeting to work on ways to improve safety. Utilizing the state mandated building condition survey, several areas were identified as needing improvement. This November, the district will ask community members to approve a capital project that will make our district safe for years to come. The project, which is a 2-year process of design and construction, will come with zero impact on taxes. As a district and community, we share the responsibility of ensuring our school meet the needs of our students. This project presents an opportunity for us to transform our facilities for the next generation of learners. It's been more than 30 years since the district has undergone a capital project like this. Over time, schools age and we need to maintain strict safety levels. This project will encompass many aspects at the middle and high schools, as well as addressing repairs needed for building structure at Townsend Elementary to ensure the long-term safety of the building.
Your team is proud to bring forward to the public a building project that will allow the facilities to be well maintained, ensure safety of others, generations to come.
Our capital project is gonna start with safety here. We're gonna redo these parking lots and extend this area out for parking for students at the tune of 87 spots. The reason why we're doing this is because we want to increase the safety of our drop-off and pickup area out back and separate it from all of this traffic here. Our roofs are also an integral part of this capital project because our roof systems are leaking and in dire need of replacement. Our security, we want to increase by creating a new secure entrance at the high school, as well as lighting. LED lighting is a big part of this project. We're trying to really increase our energy savings here and maximize our safety for the district in this capital project.
We want facilities that are welcoming to our students, staff, and visitors. We want facilities that we are proud of and that safety is the utmost importance.
The Board of Education's goal is to have this building project with a 0% tax levy increase. We're going to accomplish this by having a debt that is going to be retiring. We can utilize the money from that to have this building project. We're also going to utilize our state aid. And we're also going to have our energy performance rate.
For more information on this project, please visit www.waltoncsd.org and follow the capital project link from the main page. You can also keep up to date via our Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube pages.
What?
Turned out fabulous.
I love
we couldn't, just FYI, we didn't see that. So I don't know if you didn't see the actual video, just heard the voices.
Oh, I'm
All right.
sorry.
Then share the screen.
It is, we never stopped sharing the screen.
Oh, I
I am
You have the Gmail, so, yeah.
Yeah, all we're seeing is somebody's email.
I could probably stop it and restart it, hold it on that.
I wonder if maybe we can email it to them.
Can we email
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
We'll get copies so you guys can take a look at it.
okay, that's fine. Yep.
Once it's done, it's gonna be perfect.
I thought it came out very good.
There's a bunch of things we need to clean up, the different
Like I was,
volumes, et cetera.
Considering that we are not a professional videographer outfit, I thought it came out very, very, very well.
yeah, I think we'll continue to find it, like on this, where they have the bullets of the main pieces of the project when you're talking, I thought it would be nice if they came on when we mentioned them, instead of like getting ahead of you, kind of thing.
I actually had a different version done, but we just didn't have time to export it. So DJ was running out of here, I was running down here for another meeting, so we have additions to that, it's just.
That's your base. I think do some added enhancements here, and the voiceover, that's gonna be good.
So we'll also be working on some other pieces. There'll be a brochure that would go out in October, so that comes, after. So Scott had shared, I think you shared previously with me one, Scott, that you've done for another district, and we'll be working on a similar one that'll just get more into detail about the costs and some more specifics. But again, that comes later in the timeline, so we haven't started. I mean, I don't know if you've started it, Scott, yet, but I know it hasn't been the priority here.
No.
In the video, we are all very happy this project is going on, but the sun was beating down. That's why some of us look like a little bit like,
It was hot.
I'm just saying, we are very happy about it, but some of our faces are.
So we'll keep tweaking, and any other thoughts? Okay. That's all I had, unless anybody else has anything else.
Scott, do you have a potential timeline for the capital outlay if upstate were to do it? I'm just thinking, trying to think ahead for my crew, getting the room ready, basically cleaned out for them.
So let me just, we do have, we're just gonna pull up the spec schedule here. Hang on just a second. Because we had talked about doing asbestos last week of August. So hang on, just pull that up. Then I can share it here. At least I think I can. Okay, so let me see. Yeah, let me share my screen. Oh, I can't. It says host disabled, participant sharing. So,
You email.
yeah, let me send it to you, Meg. So, well, basically, we were talking about asbestos start. I will email it to you, but we're talking about asbestos starting August 24th. So the rooms would have to be cleaned out by the 24th, according to this schedule.
That's just, pending the board approval, we would work on it the 17th, 17th to the 20th. Yep, that's all I need.
Yeah, and then we have, the abatement being completed by September 4th, and then construction starting around September 14th for the flooring, with substantial completion end of October. And it probably will go faster than that, but that's what we have in there.
So Ms. McDonald, with our reopening plan, losing that room because construction, exactly what that impact?
Sorry, we don't have, we counted this in.
Okay.
We're looking actually at moving more than likely the instrumentals into the auditorium anyway, to give them more room for social distancing, because they have to be 12 feet by instrument and by vocal. So we're gonna be maximizing potentially the auditorium for more than one, depending on what we're doing at the time. So that won't affect it.
Or was it we could get 6 students in there?
Yeah, it's like 6 students in that space. So it just wasn't good, the biggest thing we'll have to figure out is where we're gonna move stuff to be able to make sure that we, when school opens, that we have proper fire code, safety in the hallways. This is a lot of big stuff coming out of this space, but we'll figure it out. That's all I got.
Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Kyle.
All right.